Welcome to the PrepZone Show presented by Bevill State. I'm your host, Johnathan Bentley, joined with my co-host, Zak McCullough. Zak, the regular season is over.
Yeah, the high school regular season officially came to a conclusion, and in beautiful Winston County, it really doesn't feel like anything's ending because almost everybody's in the playoffs, and everybody in Winston County that's in our coverage area is going to be in the playoffs. In Walker County, however, it's a different story. Only Dora is going to be playing postseason football. So it's been a long season for some teams. Other teams not going to the playoffs. It's been a successful season, like Jasper, 7-3, better than last year, going 1-9, a lot better. So it was a good regular season for the Vikings. Everyone else in Walker County, definitely some things they can work on in the offseason to improve for next season.
Yeah, a lot of coaches that have been there like 1 or 2 years. But we're going to start the show with a coach that was the longest tenured coach, I think, in the whole area.
Right. Well, besides David Smothers.
Well, okay, we'll go with the county then.
Right.
In Walker County, yeah. So Ryan Hall stepped down earlier this week, so that's the end of his 6-year run. And they had a down season this year, kind of.
Yeah.
They had some injuries.
Oakman finished 4-6, ended the season on a 5-game losing streak. So that was the bottom half of the season. They had a bye week early on, and they beat Carbon Hill. They beat Carbon Hill very handily, and we thought, okay, this team, they've got a tough game with Gordo, tough with Winfield. After that, it should be manageable. They fought with Gordo, kept it close, could have won it. Then after that, it really derailed.
Yeah, but, injuries and
even so, surprised to hear of Ron Hall stepping down from Oakman. He had a pretty good 6 years, 36-30. And when you're playing Gordo and Winfield every single year, 30 losses doesn't seem like too much.
I know we hate to lose him because we both love him. I mean, you're one of his former players, not at Oakman.
Not at Oakman, no. I played flag football for him at Jasper, First Church of the Nazarene, back when it was called that, when I was in the first grade. So I've known him for a long time. And I was starting, so that shows that the team wasn't very good. Finished 2-6, but had a lot more success.
That's his record.
Do not add that to his record.
38-36.
No, you don't add that to his record.
No, it doesn't count.
Look, if I'm one of your starters, don't count it your record. It couldn't have ended well.
Well, what position were you playing?
Wide receiver, mostly.
Did you catch a pass?
Big hand. Maybe a few.
Oh, nice.
I really didn't get thrown to that much because I was never open.
It was great defensive backs.
The defensive backs in first grade are just unbelievable. The seatbelt coverage is phenomenal.
That's what the county's known for.
That's right.
First grade DBs. All right, so we hate to see Hall leave. We'll keep up with who replaces him. They had a great staff over there.
They do. They have a phenomenal staff. And then there are going to be some coaches. Oakman's a place that they've been successfully good for the past decade and a half. Been to the playoffs every year, not counting this one since 2011. So definitely should be some coaches around the area that are going to probably get a good phone call because Oakman, they can get the top-notch head coach. They've got that kind of program.
Yep. And Tyler Thomas coming back.
Yeah, Tyler Thomas coming back is a big incentive.
Yes, 1,500 yards, and that's a lot of that was after he got hurt.
Right.
The last 3 or 4 games. So, yeah, you have this guy's just a big back, run you over, run around you. But it's not just him. They have a lot of talent on it, especially
and they're going to lose
offense.
Some talent. They got Trace Cagle graduating, who's been
absolutely.
He started almost every game since 2020, since he was in the 7th grade. So
yeah, defensive leader for sure. Well, so we'll jump into last week's games. There was only 7, and there wasn't a whole lot of great games here.
There weren't.
Looking back,
there weren't.
There were 2 42-0 games. So we'll start with one of the 42-0 games. Jasper beat Lawrence County. A playoff-bound Lawrence County and Jasper. I guess that was kind of their playoff game since they didn't make it. So
it was senior night for the Vikes. Lawrence County, get used to them because they got to play corner this week. So they were able to be in our area 1 week. They have to come back next week. I would imagine, and we'll get into this later, probably won't end so well for Lawrence County. But for Jasper, phenomenal season turning around from 1-9 last year.
Yes, it really was.
So it was good to go out with a win. Micah Pledger had a phenomenal game. We'll talk about him later as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. Big game, big win for them. 2 straight shutouts in the year.
Yeah, that's
Jasper.
Impressive.
Meek, game you were at, Meek 56, Carbon Hill 12.
Yeah, Meek, the offense really was sluggish for the first half.
It really was.
The defense held its own, getting 3 pick sixes and blocking a punt, running it back for a touchdown.
Wow.
And by the time the Carbon Hill offense kind of snapped to, was able to put together a couple of late touchdown drives, it was way too late for them. Meek, it was, like I said, it was kind of sluggish, but they did enough to where it looked pretty good. And preparing for Hubbardsville this week, which will be no easy game.
No. Yeah, 7-3, 7 straight wins for Meek. We've said before they started 0-3, but they played Lynn, Winston County, and Hackleburg. So.
That's right. Teams with a combined 28-2 record.
Yeah, there you go. Did you know that off the top of your head?
I did. I've been keeping up with it for the past few weeks. It kind of hurt the record that Hackleburg lost last week to Hubbardsville,
yes,
who Meek has to play this week. So
yes,
interesting.
All ties together. All right, so Winston County, no surprise here, 49, Faultville 6. That's 10-0.
Winston County going to have an undefeated regular season. The season could go a lot longer, too. Faultville was really kind of outmatched in this one. Faultville will be going to the playoffs, though, so it shows a lot that Winston County could do this to a playoff team.
Yeah, Winston County's just clicking right now. You can't stop that offense.
To be fair, though, when have they not been clicking this season?
Year? No.
It's just been...
They've taken care of business.
They have.
Every single week. And it's hard to go 10-0. Kind of talked about this before where you're going to have a slip-up. I mean, think of the great teams. I mean, Corner, for instance, 9-1. Who would have thought they'd lose to Broadwood Christian?
Yeah,
because you just have one game where you just don't play well.
That's right. In Winston County, they hadn't had that. It's been phenomenal. But don't take our word for it. Get up to Double Springs this week.
Yes, it's Malcolm Blake Stadium.
It's
absolutely.
a beautiful stadium, but Double Springs is just a beautiful place to go to. So go there and check them out. If there's not high school action close to you, just go to a high school game this week. You know, we got teams playing at home in Dora and at Corner, Winston County, Lynn. We'll talk about this later, but just go check out some teams. And Meek's at home as well.
That's a pretty drive to Lynn also.
Oh, it's beautiful.
You know?
Winston County is beautiful this time of year.
Yes. All right, so another game, Carver 42, the second 42-0 game. Carver 42, Cordova nothing.
A disappointing season for Cordova that's finished 1-9. But technically, the season will finish 2-8 because Fultondale, they were apparently cheating. They had an ineligible player playing against Cordova. So Cordova will get credit for that, even though they lost 40-6. But good to see Cordova awarded that win because Fultondale had an unfair advantage.
Yeah, I hate it for Curry that also lost to Fultondale, but they didn't get it because that kid did not play in that game. Yes.
See, Fultondale should have played him the whole season so we could have more teams getting a forfeit win.
Southeastern 19, Oakman 7. We both picked Oakman last week.
Yeah, we did. We both picked Oakman. Our
both lost it.
All-knowing producer Jake Aaron went with Southeastern, so
he knew.
He got one up on us. But
we were the only two to pick them.
We were, and maybe should have gone with Southeastern. But with Oakman, disappointing way to end the season, 4-6. Like we said, they're losing Trace Cagle, losing some pieces on the offensive line as well. Got to find a new head coach. Have Tyler Thomas back. Also have their quarterback coming back as well. So interesting to see this offseason and what it turns into for 2025.
Yes, it mirrored that Vinemont game. They lost almost the same score. They were up 7-6 at halftime and lose 19-7. Vinemont was 7-6 at halftime, lost 20-7. So
almost identical.
Yeah, they just had trouble scoring at the end. Corner closes out a 9-1 season, 38. Springville 14.
Big win for Corner. Don't want to have any kind of slip up heading into the playoffs. And 5A is very, very tough when it gets to playoff time. A lot of great teams, Birmingham area teams.
Yes.
So glad to see that Corner had the momentum going into what's going to be a grueling playoff stretch.
And for once, they get to host.
I know it. It feels like they're traveling all the time.
Yeah, always third when they were in 4A. They go to 5A and they win the region. So
unbelievable.
Great job by the coach over there, Campbell. All right, so we'll jump into the players of the week. Our first one, Micah Pledger. He now has 8 total touchdowns the last 2 weeks.
That's pretty good. He has carried the Jasper offense, and he's got 2 good quarterbacks and some good pieces around him. So we can't leave anybody else out. But Pledger's getting the big stats and 4 touchdowns, ran 16 times for 141 yards with 3 touchdowns, 2 receptions for 55 yards, and another score. Phenomenal game for Micah Pledger.
Yeah, he's doing all the damage, it seemed like, offense. I hate the season's over because he seemed to be catching fire down the stretch. 1,000-yard back, one of our 5. I had to include 2 here, Chris Clemens and Landon Kelly from Winston County. Clemens, he's had huge games running the ball, but 7 catches for 151 and 3 touchdowns.
That's pretty good. When you're a running back and you can make an impact as a receiver out of the backfield, throws a whole nother dimension into your game that opponents have to plan for. And it'll be a great benefit during the playoffs.
Yeah, they've had games where they didn't throw the ball. And then you had Landon Kelly in this game go 12 for 17 with 238 and 3 touchdowns.
It just shows that they're going to win however they have to.
Yes,
and look good doing it.
That's what I like about them. They can win in so many different ways. Whereas we have some other teams that if one perfect thing doesn't go right, it all falls apart. Yeah, they can win in a lot of ways with those two guys and other players we didn't even mention. Yeah, it's a whole loaded team over there. I wanted to include Troy Thomas too. Rushed 3 touchdowns and corners win. So Unruh goes down 2 weeks ago, and this kid has really picked it up. He also had, I think it was over 140 yards. So whenever they have a back, they let the guy run it.
Right. And if Unruh is not able to go for the playoffs, you've got Troy Thomas sitting there. Big benefit for corner.
Yes. Yeah, to have a guy like that hardly ran until, like I said, they'll feed a guy.
They will.
So he's the guy to feed right now.
Hey, if you're a good running back, they'll use you. That's what you got to do. I wish you could say the same for Hugh Freeze.
We'll get to that later.
Yes, we will.
All right, so we'll jump into this week's games. Like we said, only 6 teams in the playoffs. And 4 of those are Winston County. What is Winston County doing over there?
I don't know. The Walker County teams need to kind of take trips up north and scout out, see what's going. It's not as if it's been all easy for the Winston County teams. There have been some unfavorable schedules. They've just been able to manage their way through it.
Yes. Won when they had to win. But we'll open with our lone Walker County playoff team, Dora, which was second in the region. Good Hope. Brooks 8-2 at Dora 6-4. What are you thinking about this?
Yeah, one? Brooks. One of their losses is to an 8-2 region foe. Their other loss is to West Morgan, who's undefeated. So Brooks is not your typical 3 seed. Oh. Brooks is a phenomenal team that could really make a deep run in 4A. Then you've got Dora, who they have enough talent to make a run in 4A as well. So it's somebody's going to have their playoff run cut a lot shorter than it needs to be this week. And Brooks has a phenomenal offense. The Dora defense has at times been a work in progress this year. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, I'm saying shootout, but I have to pick Brooks.
Wow. I also did pick Brooks. I mean, they started 1-2, so they won 7 straight. And like you said, that's usually good enough for region championship. But their first game was against West Morgan.
I know.
So they opened the season with a region game. Then they won a game. Then they had their second toughest region game in week 3. So, yeah, their schedule was front-loaded. But, yeah, they seem like they're on a run. I hope Dora wins because, I mean, they lost in the first round last year.
I'll tell you what, it seems like whenever we pick Dora, we jinx them and they lose. So maybe we're picking Brooks. That'll fire Dora up. Dora can make a run.
Hopefully that is true. They have the same colors as Meek, black and orange for Brooks. So Dora, it's a tough draw. Usually if you're the 2 seed, you get a better draw than this. It's very tough. Cold Springs got kind of gifted a playoff spot after Coosa Christian was booted from the playoffs. So Cold Springs, for the second time this year, has to go to Winston County.
That's right. It's a bit of a rematch, Winston County. If Coosa Christian had not been caught for using an ineligible player, Susan Moore would be in the situation of getting whipped by Winston County. But this time, it's going to be poor Cold Springs has to go up there and deal with the Yellow Jackets. Now, I will say this. This is about the 3rd straight season Coosa Christian has gotten busted for cheating. But finally, they're not in the playoffs.
It cost them this
I hate it for the kids, but it helps us here because they took Lynn out of the playoffs 2 years in a row.
Yes.
So, it's kind of a lot of high-level cheating at Coosa Christian. Good to see Cold Springs getting in the playoffs because they're kind of a program that's traditionally down here, finally getting in the playoffs. And happy for them, even though they did kind of back their way in, so they weren't so much prepared. Now, also, side note, Fultondale had to forfeit games. I mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
That allowed Fett County to get in the playoffs.
Same deal.
So Fett County had last week off. They thought it was the end of the season. All of a sudden, they're preparing for a playoff game, too. So it's good to see some of these teams getting in the playoffs when they didn't expect to.
2 semi-local teams.
Pleasant surprise.
Yeah, and Winston County already got them earlier this season, but I think Winston County's even playing better right now.
Oh, yeah, Winston County's they're in the rhythm of things, and I think Winston County wins very handily.
What would have been interesting if Coosa had been the 4 and would have been in this spot?
Oh, I would have hated to see that because Coosa beat 29-2.
Coosa was a loaded.
Coosa is a juggernaut.
I mean, yes, they were going to make a long run.
Also, this shows now there's really in 2A North, there's really nobody I think that can compete with Winston County.
Now it's wide
so
open.
If they don't slip up, they've got a clean shot at Birmingham.
It seems like those second round games are always really, really tough. You can jump that second round. Like Lynn, that's why they ran into Coosa last year.
Because Coosa was a 3 seed
because
due to
they got
forfeits.
moved. Yes, they should have got them the next round. All right, so Lawrence County team we talked about lost to Jasper last week. Has to come back here and play 9-1 Corner.
Yeah, if Jasper beat Lawrence County 42-0, what's Corner going to do? I think the Yellow Jackets are going to win this one very, very handily. But for Lawrence County, glad they at least made the playoffs.
Yes. Good for them. That's a good year for them.
That's right.
They've struggled lately.
All these teams that are facing our top teams, these teams that we really don't know, happy to see them in the playoffs because it takes a lot of work to get there. It does.
Yeah, good for Cold Springs, like we mentioned before. Who would have ever thought Hubbardsville would be this good this year? 8-2, kind of came out of nowhere.
They did, and they're going to be a 3 seed going to Meek.
Go to 7. They have a better record than Meek. It reminds me of the Brooks-Dora deal. They're 8-2 and came in a third in their region.
Well,
somehow.
They lost to Lynn and they lost to Berry. So obviously Hubbardsville does not like losing to Berry. So they've been fired up. They somehow managed to stun Hackleburg last week. Hackleburg was 9-0, about to be 10-0, and then the Hub came in and beat them. So Hubbardsville's got a lot of positive momentum. So does Meek. I think this is a very, very interesting game. But Hubbardsville, they showed last week what they can do. I think they continue. I'm picking the Hub.
I am as well. That's a tough first round draw for Meek. Meek's won 7 in a row, so they're hot, and Hubbardsville's also hot. Like you said, beat Hackleburg. That was shocking.
It's a really good first round matchup, though.
And that tells you how hard it is to go undefeated. A team like Hackleburg could even do it. Cherokee, a rare playoff appearance, especially lately. 5-5 at Lynn, 9-1. Anything to worry about for Lynn there?
Shouldn't be. Of course, the minute you stop worrying is the minute you got trouble. So I think Mark Hastings is a fantastic coach. He'll have his team prepared for this one. I think Lynn wins handily. Yeah,
I do as well. I think that will probably be the biggest blowout between all these, maybe.
It would be between that and Corner Lawrence County.
And also, Addison made the playoffs. You mentioned the tough schedule. That would be Addison.
Yeah, they had a brutal schedule, and then I know the Bulldogs hated losing to Meek, which is big rivalry there.
Gosh, yeah.
They have to go to Berry, and Berry's only loss was to Lynn.
Very close one.
A game where they were in the red zone.
You went to that game.
I was there. Berry was in the red zone driving to win when Lynn stopped them on downs. Braylon Roberts absolutely went off in that game for Lynn. For Berry, they played very well, and that's their only loss of the season. So obviously they're going to be fired up. I think they have too much firepower for Addison. Berry wins fairly handily.
All right, so I do want to mention, I should have put this earlier, we have 2 guys that are going to be playing in the All-Star game, North-South. And one of them's, what reminded me is you said Braylon Roberts for Lynn. That's one of them. And Cade Chanel for Dora. Both be playing for the North team right after the season's over. Being December.
Could not have picked 2 more deserving guys to do that.
Yes, 2 of our best players for sure.
2 of our very best, absolute beasts on the football field.
Yep. No running back or anything, but it's good to have 2.
And they're both well coached, with Mark Hastings coaching Braylon Roberts and Chavis Williams coaching Cade Chanel. So that has a lot to do with it as well.
Those guys are difference makers. All right, we have these playoff teams, and we kind of talked about this a little bit. Do you see any of these making a decent run?
I could see multiple of them making a decent run.
Really? Who?
I legitimately think that Winston County is going to win the North in 2 ways.
Whoa.
I really do.
The championship game?
Make the championship game. Well, there's no Coosa anymore in that bracket.
Yeah, that's so tough.
Now, 2A South is a different animal. So Winston County might run into some issues when they get to the state championship, or if they get to the state championship. And I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse. But Winston County, I think, has a really, really good shot to make a deep, deep run. Mm-hmm. Lynn as well, because Lynn's got a lot of talent. They're peaking at the right time. They're finally healthy. So those are 2 teams that could really make a long, long run.
Yeah, that's the 2 I would go with too. I'd probably go Lynn first, just because
I
just like the way they're playing, and they're healthy. And to be healthy this late in the year is pretty rare, And they had to be because they have so few players.
I know. Well, the same with Winston County. They're
that's
healthy,
true. Yeah.
But they don't have too terribly much depth. So as long as their players stay healthy, they're in good shape.
And they're so good on both sides of the ball. Winston County, we don't even mention their defense is incredible.
They held Decatur Heritage to 7 points.
Yeah, it's one of the top defenses in 2A. And I always talk about these explosive offensive players, but their defense is just as good. They're well-rounded this year.
You're going to have 2A teams underestimating Winston County, and you're going to have 1A teams underestimating Lynn because they may not have as much depth as other schools. But it's not going to end well if you underestimate either one of those.
I mean, I do want to talk about Hastings. How do you lose Kel Tittle? We've said this before.
I know it.
It's like a generational player.
I know.
And you still have the same record.
It's good coaching.
Yeah, it is.
He's one of the best.
And Lynn kids really care.
They do. They care. I mean,
they have fun out there.
They do care. I mean, it's just phenomenal how they do that. And like I said, it's just a sign of good coaching. And the players being very, very talented does not hurt any either.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of talent on that team. All right, so corner, I think they have an outside shot to make a couple rounds.
5A is very, very hard because, like I said, you're competing with some Birmingham area schools, and Birmingham area schools have all kinds of resources.
Yes, those teams. They beat Ramsey and Winona.
That's
so
true.
They have beat two really, really good teams.
They
already.
can make a run. They really can.
All right, so our last top 5 of the year. It's probably the same teams as usual.
I'm sure it is.
But my number 5 is Jasper. Are you?
My number 5 is Jasper as well. We might agree the whole way down the board.
It's possible.
It's very possible. But Jasper, just a phenomenal season.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that Coach Reeves was a phenomenal coach coming in from the defensive coordinator position at UAB. Side note, I'm sure UAB would really like him back right now. Glad that he's here, though. Very glad that he's at Jasper. He's done a phenomenal job turning around the program unbelievably. Next year should be even better. So Jasper's number 5. Phenomenal team.
Yeah, a young team. They lose some linemen, lose some good defensive players, but I think a good core is coming back. I have Meek number 4.
Okay, that is my number 4 as well.
Oh, okay,
7-game winning streak.
What can you say?
All the talent. Hunter Wyatt playing phenomenally. Well coached. Well, a lot of talent. So Meeks, they're in a good position, even though they do have to play Hubbardville this week, which is going to be tough.
And when they were 0-3, I was wondering if this team would even make the playoffs.
Yeah, so was I. And we kind of looking at who they were playing. We didn't know Hackleburg was going to be as good as they were. We didn't know Winston County was going to be as good as they were. We've expected Lynn to be like this, but it shows that if you play tough teams early, it really helps you the rest of the way down. And look, even if Meek loses to Hubbardville, it's been a good season. 7-game winning streak to finish it off. You beat your rival Addison.
Yes.
So it's been a phenomenal season for the Tigers.
I think that Addison game pretty much did it. That's the highlight no matter what.
That would be.
Yes. And it was such a great game, too.
It was.
It was a great game. All right. So I guess we'll jump into college, unfortunately.
I know you don't want to talk about this.
It's not fun this year.
I know you don't.
All right, we'll start with Alabama. So a week off, and now they have the biggest game. What are you expecting at LSU Saturday night? I'm glad this is a night game.
Utter pandemonium and chaos. Those fans are going to be they're going to be full of liquid that is going to make them very, very loud, going to make it very, very tough on Alabama. And I saw where Jalen Milroe has played. He has started in one true road game.
What?
That he has won very handily, and that was against Mississippi State. He struggled in all of his other road game starts, which is a little alarming.
Interesting.
Last year was Texas A&M. And I don't count Wisconsin because that's not an SEC atmosphere. I'm talking about SEC road trips.
Yeah, they had jump around.
But the fans they weren't even there for that. It was so ugly.
They jumped around, then they left.
They jumped around, and then they jumped out.
They waited till that, and they left. But I didn't realize that.
But he really has not played well on the road as a starting quarterback. But LSU losing to Texas A&M the way they did, and then Texas A&M followed that up by getting absolutely manhandled by South Carolina.
SEC.
And to be fair, Alabama has not looked good the past few weeks. They manhandled Missouri, which was a very promising sign. This is really 50-50. It's really a 50-50 game, and it's an elimination game as well. It really is because LSU and Alabama, they're both 2 losses. If you have 3 losses, you're not making the playoffs. The college football is just that talented this year. That many good teams. So it's going to be very tough on whoever loses it. Whoever wins it has kind of an inside track, though.
There was a team. There will be a 3-loss team make that playoff eventually.
Well, somebody's going to be 10-2 and losing a conference championship game to a really good team, and that's not going to hurt.
Yeah,
but if you finish the regular season 9-3 this year, you really don't have a shot.
Yeah, there's so many other good teams there.
But at least Alabama doesn't have just 3 wins like someone else we're about to talk about.
And at least Alabama is in this spot.
They are.
They're in this
Alabama's
spot.
in this
just
spot.
Just win and you're fine.
Just win. And breaking in a new coach. Completely had no idea what was going to happen with this. We've had ups
up and down.
And we've had downs that are under the table down. It's been Very, very bad at times.
Under the table.
Losing to Vanderbilt. I mean, who could imagine losing to a team that could lose to Vanderbilt? Just has to
just
be
an awful team.
Awful.
A team Georgia State beat. Or was it Georgia Southern?
It was Georgia State.
Get them confused.
There.
Yes. So Auburn, speaking of teams under the table, reverts back to playing its worst football of the season, probably, I would say.
Well, when Vanderbilt's quarterback Diego Pavia completes 9 passes and you still lose by double digits.
At home?
It's bad. Yeah, at home with a packed stadium. It's not like there was just an empty place. The stadium was packed and they still
quiet.
Lost. And,
yes, I mean, it was just...
When you put the game on the line, you're down by 10 and you kick a 50-something yard field goal with a backup kicker, you're desperate.
His name is McGew.
McGew.
Well, that's how it's spelled. They call it something different. We know in Walker County it's called McGew.
It's McGew. We got a lot of McGews in Walker County.
And they could probably kick better than our
Had
McGew.
some talented football players named McGew in Walker County.
So Towns McGew, now he is a true freshman.
Maybe.
But to run out a guy on a 51-yard attempt when his long, I've said this 5 times, kept repeating it. When his long is like 32 yards and you're expecting this guy to make that, it's just baffling. I mean, did it matter? No, they're going to lose anyway. It's going to be, then they had a penalty. They should have only lost 10-7. It didn't matter.
They had a penalty for jumping over.
I don't know what he was thinking.
Jumping over the offensive line on a field goal attempt. You're not allowed to jump on top of your teammates and then jump over the other players on a field goal attempt.
I mean, the guy was 15 feet in the air.
And he still didn't block the kick.
I remember a Vanderbilt game where a guy did jump the line before it was illegal and did block the kick. He did. Yeah, that was years ago. Auburn barely won that game. But that was a bad Vanderbilt team.
I'll tell you what, it's gotten to the point where, with the exception of you, I felt sorry for Auburn fans. I really have. because Auburn fans are really nice people. They're really wonderful people. I'm not saying that tongue-in-cheek. They are. And, to have their team playing like this, it's kind of a head-scratcher considering that we thought they made a good hire at head coach.
Now I don't know.
Well, I did this stat. Brian Harsin had got to coach 22 games at Auburn before he was fired. His record was 9-13. Hugh Freeze, that lost to Vanderbilt, was his 22nd game as Auburn's head coach. His record, 9-13, identical.
Well, I will defend Freeze and say he inherited a worse team, but he's coached this team to losses. That if you just do basic stuff, you win the game. You know what I mean?
What I don't understand is Auburn played Kentucky and beat them because Jarquez Hunter ran for 278 yards. Then the next week he gets 12 carries.
50 yards.
What are you thinking, Hugh
You're
Freeze?
saving him for Louisiana Monroe. He's going to explode.
You're saving him for the transfer portal, which is where he might hop. Or he'd go to the NFL. Depends.
It's way too talented. None of this makes sense. It's like he's drawing stuff out of a hat. Oh, it says to run for 1 yard. It says you run for a yard, lose a yard, incomplete pass, punt. That's been Auburn's offense for years.
Well, I know it's been good for you right now to kind of get let the frustration and the anger out. So now you know how it feels to lose to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, well, I mean,
welcome to the club.
Well, I was wrong about Auburn's record against Vanderbilt. Now it's even, 22-1. So Auburn did have a 1-game lead.
Maybe next year Auburn will have a shot.
Yes, at that new Vanderbilt Stadium maybe. We'll have to see what the schedule shows. I mean, I don't right now. Just 7 points at home.
Will Hugh Freeze be the head coach next year at Auburn?
Yes. I give him another year.
So
now, if they're 4-8 next year, he'll be in trouble.
He's got a pretty good recruiting class coming in.
I guess he'll enter the season on the hot seat. I guess. I don't know. We'll see. This is not good. And I wrote Groundhog Day here, and I have to explain that. This is a movie from 1993 or so, where the guy kept living the same day over and over, and I'm living the same Saturday over and over.
Well, at least Auburn has a bye week.
Yes. I mean, and I'm not counting Alabama A&M and Louisiana Monroe.
And New Mexico.
Yes. But it is the same thing every week, and it's just I'm trying to wake up out of it. Eventually he did wake up out of it. So.
Eventually something will go right.
Yes,
I'd
be okay losing. You watch these other teams, and they're driving up and down the field. People are having fun. This is no fun. This is absolutely. If you go to these games, I commend you because this is no fun.
But this Jordan Hare Stadium was absolutely packed. So there were a lot of people.
Leave before the game started. Just do the pregame stuff and leave.
Watch the Eagle fly. And then
my sister goes to every home game, and I don't know why. What are you getting out of this? Anger? Anyway, as you can see, I am.
You're very angry.
Yes.
Yeah, but we have Zach's picks now. No Auburn. No Auburn on the docket this week, so you're all right and off the hook for that. Speaking of teams that Auburn lost to, it seems like the number is tripling and doubling and quadrupling all at the same time. South Carolina at Vanderbilt. When are the gamblers going to learn? South Carolina is a field goal favorite at Vanderbilt.
That's right. That's the correct move.
You think South Carolina will win?
I do. I know you. It seems like since they beat Alabama, everybody thinks Vanderbilt's this great team. They're not that great.
Their only loss was to Texas by a field goal.
That great. I mean, they're good.
Well,
they're better than usual.
They're ranked higher than Auburn.
Well, that's they beat Auburn handily. I mean, really. But no, I mean, they'll probably win. It's at home, and they are good.
So you're going.
Probably Vanderbilt should be closer than that. But yeah, I'm going South Carolina.
You're going South Carolina. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I think this is Vanderbilt's season to go to a nice bowl game.
Alabama and then fans always pick them.
Then have Clark Lee poached from a bigger program and Vanderbilt go back down desperate. Because if I'm another program, Clark Lee is at the top of my head coach search list. So, but that's a story for the offseason if it happens. Who knows? Next game, Oklahoma at Missouri. Missouri had a week off to recover from a beatdown by Alabama. Oklahoma had a wonderful, wonderful big win last week. Dominated Maine. So,
I didn't know that.
Who do you think wins this? It's at Missouri. Brady Cook, don't know if he'll play or not. If he does, he couldn't be 100% because he's got a broken hand. He was throwing against Alabama and hit it right here on the helmet.
Yes, that was a terrible injury. And he's basically the team. I said without him, they're Mississippi State. So I'm picking Missouri, but if he doesn't play, they'll lose. That backup quarterback is so bad. I mean, you saw him.
Yeah, Drew Pine. Just
this guy played for Notre Dame, and he's
so did Tyler Buckner, Alabama's backup last year, who nearly got beat by South Florida.
So if that backup is playing, does Oklahoma will win probably easily.
Well, I think Oklahoma will win anyway because Brady Cook, there's no way he can be at 100%. You break your hand 2 weeks ago. I mean, you're not going to be throwing.
He's injured
passes
every week.
That's true. He did go to the hospital, return, and then beat Auburn.
He was like, "Wow, if this is my chance to get a win, I better get back out there."
That's right. That's right. So I'm picking Oklahoma in this one, even though it's at Missouri. I really think the Sooners are starting to trend in the right direction. It'd be a big win for them. They need it. It would be a huge win. The next game, Georgia at Ole Miss. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, Ole Miss is favored. According to Las Vegas, Georgia's favored. So it's really a 50-50. What do you think?
I'm not picking against Georgia again. Alabama, I think that was the only time I picked against Georgia, but they bounced back, and they didn't look good last week either. I think they'll be ready for this one, though. Seems like they step up in big games.
They do. And it's at Ole Miss. It's a 2:30 game, which Lane Kiffin was not happy about. He wished it was a night game. But so it's not going to be as loud as Vaught-Hemingway Stadium could be, but still it's going to be a pretty good atmosphere. I don't think Georgia will have any issue, though. I think Georgia will win.
And that'll probably knock Ole Miss out of the playoffs.
I think they're already out of it, really. If they win this game, they're right back in it. Fair point. Yes. But interesting either way. Final game, Alabama at LSU. A little side note, Tropical Storm Raphael might dump some rain on Baton Rouge over the weekend. So could be interesting to see if the air is taken out of the ball a little bit there. But obviously, teams are going to practice with wet football, so they'll kind of know how to deal with it. But just a little interesting side note. So Baton Rouge at night, what do you think?
I'm taking Alabama. I haven't picked against them, I don't think, this year.
Have you not?
I have not.
Last time you picked against them was last year in the SEC championship game.
Yeah. And whenever I do that, I get it wrong.
Yes, you do. So pick against us.
I'm picking Alabama. I don't know. I think LSU's not great. Alabama's better than them, I think. It's just a matter of playing in their place at night.
Which is going to be tough.
Yeah. But I give Alabama the slight edge. Be a close game.
Okay, well, it's really a 50-50 toss-up for me.
Yeah.
But I'm not picking against Alabama. I'm not going to do it. So I'm going with Alabama. Why? Really, because I want them to win. Because everything tells you that going to Baton Rouge at night is not going to end well. But to be fair, Alabama's really done a good job the past few times they've gone to Baton Rouge. They lost last time they were there in 2022. But before that, they really dominated at Baton Rouge, despite how loud and crazy the atmosphere was. So maybe that's a good sign. Picking Alabama would probably be, if Alabama were to win, it'd be very close and very mistake-filled game.
Have you not picked Alabama before?
Yes, in 2021. I picked Georgia. I picked Georgia to beat Alabama, and I got it wrong, so I said I would never pick against Alabama. But now that Nick Saban's retired, it's kind of opened the door for that. But I'm not going to pick against him unless I'm absolutely sure it wouldn't end well.
Yes, but it's always a good game.
I'm not sure that this won't end well. Alabama has a decent shot at winning this. They're a favorite. But going with Alabama, though I'm very uneasy about it. And that wraps up Zach's pick.
So if they win, if LSU won, would that be 3 goalposts tore down?
Yes.
Wow.
But would they wind up in the river? I don't know.
Is there a river there?
Well, the Mississippi River runs right through. The Mississippi River runs right through Baton Rouge.
So you might have to march to it, yeah. I mean, Vanderbilt made that trip.
It was about 3 miles through downtown Nashville.
Downtown on the main road. That would be crazy. Maybe they have to go down, LSU. I don't know how close that is to the river, but yeah, they'll tear it down at least.
Yeah, I hadn't studied Baton Rouge geography yet.
No.
But
well, we got a couple days to do it.
We have some time.
I do remember Auburn once the players tore it down.
Right.
They passed it into the stands.
Oh, no.
And it went right up the stands, and they had to come over the speaker and say, do not throw it over the side of the stadium.
That
would
be a disaster.
Yeah, they were going to kill people.
That was going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
But fortunately, goalposts either go in the river or stay in the stadium. Just don't drop them on people.
Or if Alabama wins, it's fine. Just sit there.
Yeah, just leave them there. They're expensive,
Yeah, exactly.
They're expensive.
Oh, Hastings told me once Lynn tore down the goalpost.
That's got to be expensive.
I've never heard of that in
1A high school.
Yes.
That's got to be an expensive.
They said it was a win against Addison that put them in the championship game. Well, so it was a big win.
Yeah, I guess that was.
Yeah, they'd probably do it again. All right, so that wraps up our show. We're jumping into the playoffs. We're almost done with high school. And we predicted, I think, only 3 teams to be left next week. If I looked at this right.
Well, let me see now.
Winston County,
1, 2,
Corner, and Lynn.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so hopefully
there's 6.
Yeah, what if we have 6 back? That would be great. Yes, that would be great. But no matter what, get out and watch a game this week because you're running out of time.
Yeah, you never know when it's going to be the last time you can see them play. So definitely, if you have not been to a high school game this season, get off your couch, get to a stadium. You won't regret it.
Yes, it won't be too cold.
No, it's nice weather this time.
We have like a Jaden Griffin, 2,400 yards in 10 games. Could be his last game.
It could be go to Dora.
Go watch Dora, yes, if you're in the county.
Yeah, if you're Walker County.
Yes, a lot of good games to watch. So that wraps up our show. I want to thank Jake for producing, Zach for being here, and Bevill State for sponsoring the show. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.